Welcome to my podcast, Unveiled with Maria Leggett. That's me, and I am going to discuss mediumship, tarot, and spirituality so we can start to unravel all the mysteries together, and you are more than welcome to ask questions anytime. Before we get started into today's amazing episode, I want to put this wonderful offer out for whomever is listening to my podcast. If you would go to Podbean and leave me a comment as a review of the podcast and what you think of it, and take a screenshot and email that screenshot to me to the email address hello@marialeggettunveiled.com. And that's MARIALE, G as in girl, G as in girl, E, T as in Tom, T as in Tom.com. I, in turn, am going to send you a free meditation to meet your tarot guide. This is also to celebrate the new tarot episodes that I have coming out on Thursdays. So please leave me a comment as a review to let me know just how much you love this podcast. And I, in turn, will send you a meditation to meet your tarot guide. Today's podcast is going to be about minding your own energy. And in thinking about minding my own energy, I sat and had to have a nice long meditation and talk with Spirit and myself about all the things that I take on and all the things that I do, including this podcast. And I've had several friends tell me, Shelley, you're doing way too much. Do you really need to do the podcast? And the truth of the matter is, I don't need to do the podcast, but I want to do it. I enjoy it. I have fun with it. The problem is I become so busy, and then I get upset with myself when I don't record on time or I don't post it on time. So I have given myself permission to record when I have time. So I'm going to be that random podcast that is not going to come out every Monday because I don't think I need to. But more than anything, it's permission that I needed to give myself that if I'm going to continue to do the podcast, which I really want to do because I truly feel like bringing out information to new people in spirituality in a way that is free and that they have full access to is part of my path. The flip side to that is that I'm trying to write a program and trying to do things to launch my business further out there that I need to give myself permission to just do the podcast in the moments when I can. So that's exactly what I plan on doing. And that's how I'm going to mind my energy. So it's really important that you understand your aura and you understand your chakras. And we'll go into those and into a different podcast. But today it's just helpful to understand the fact that we do have 7 chakras in our body, and those 7 are your root chakra, your sacral chakra, your solar plexus, your heart chakra, your throat chakra, your third eye chakra, and your crown chakra. Your root chakra is located in your perineum, and that's the space between your rectum and your genitals. The sacral chakra is located just above that. It's located at the space probably about halfway between your belly button and your root chakra. And then your solar plexus is located about 2 fingers up from your belly button. And then you have your heart chakra. And your heart chakra is obvious. It's right smack in the middle of your chest. Your throat chakra, again, another obvious one, it's at your throat. And your third eye chakra is located just above the middle of your eyebrows, above the bridge of your nose. And then your crown chakra is located right above your head, right in the middle of your skull. Along with those 7 chakras, we also have 7 different layers of your aura that are attached to those 7 chakras. The root chakra is attached to the physical aura, which is the non-subtle body that manifests into the physical world. Your sacral chakra is attached to the etheric aura, which is the energetic template of your physical body. Then your solar plexus is attached to the astral body, and that's the archetypal template of the etheric body. The heart chakra is attached to the emotional aura. That's the container for all of your emotional energy.
The fifth chakra, which is your throat chakra, is attached to the mental body. That's your mental aura. The mind and body of logic, reason, language, and linear awareness. Then your third eye chakra, no big chakra here, is attached to the psychic aura, and that's the image, symbol, and vision aura. And then we have the crown chakra, which is attached to, again, no big chakra, the divine, which is your higher self, your soul, and your divine spark. So these things are important to understand, that the energy that you carry from your body, so the words that you speak, when you speak these words, you're bringing them from your throat chakra, which is attached to the mental body. So you're bringing it up and out into this, and it's going to just continue to vibrate out through the auras. And so what happens is, when you speak, your words are energy, and the intention behind them are energy. And you pull this up and out, and you send it out of your body. And what's really important to note about this is that I call it sliming. And when you say something to somebody that is inappropriate, or you say it out of anger, you can slime them with your energy, and that's why it's really important to understand the aura and how it works, and the chakras and how they work, because you're sliming somebody with this. It's coming out of your throat chakra into your aura, and then you're sliming them because their aura is bumping up against yours, because we are all connected in this world, all of us. Every person in the United States is connected to somebody else. So I'm connected to somebody in Pakistan and Russia and Africa, because our auras are all connected. We are all connected. Everything has an aura. So all the trees, fish, animals, everybody has an aura. And so when you realize how far out your aura extends, your first layer of your aura is about 5 or 6 inches away from your body. And then you just keep going, and it goes up and out into the atmosphere. So when you're talking about billions of people around the world, all of our auras are touching each other. And so this is why the saying, "not my circus, not my monkeys," drives me fucking crazy, because it's not true. This is your circus. These are your monkeys. Whether you like it or not, your life, the way that you show up in the world, affects somebody else, and it vibrates out into the world. So don't think that just because you're having a bad day, and I've had this, right, where I woke up in the morning, I'm like, you know what, I'm just a royal bitch today. I know that if I don't dial that back, somebody else is going to get slimed by me sending that energy out if I'm not careful, and I'm going to affect somebody else with my bad mood. They're going to turn into a bad mood. They could go shove it off onto someone else. It's this whole big ripple effect. So it is your circus. It is your monkeys. You do have a responsibility to show up in this world as authentically as you can, and just be genuinely you, and mind your energy. So if you're talking crap about someone, if you're gossiping, you're sharing that energy with the person that you're gossiping to, and you're sending that out into the world. So guess what? Don't be shocked 3 weeks later when that person found out that you were talking smack about them behind their back, and now they're talking about you. You go into a vicious cycle. If you don't want somebody to talk about you, you need to stop gossiping, because it is just this vicious cycle, and we need to stop. As women, we need to love and support each other. This is where that saying, "be that queen who turns around and helps another queen straighten her crown without ever saying a word." Don't tell her, "hey, your crown's crooked." You just walk over and smile and say, "Here, let me help you." And you straighten it out, because we are in this together. This is not a competition. I don't give a shit what anybody says. This is not a competition. This world is big enough for 1,000,000 mediums, for 1,000,000,000 mediums. Because here's the thing, we are all mediums naturally. We just don't realize it. This is not a gift. It's an ability. We have enough room look at all the stars that we have. They all have plenty of jobs. If they want to be in competition with one another, that's their choice. But everybody has something that they're good at. And it's really important that we recognize that in this life. So now that we've talked about the physical aura and I kind of went off on a rampage, we're going to go back into what I wrote down because I wrote notes to make sure that I stayed on task with this. So when my kids were in elementary school and when I was in elementary school, my kids learned this thing called Roy G. Biv. And I don't know if anybody else has heard of this, but Roy G. Biv, ROY, the letter G, and then BIV. B as in boy, I, V as in Victor. These are the colors of the rainbow, right? Red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, violet. These are also the color of your chakras. So your chakras are covering this exact same pattern, and each chakra is related to a specific area of your energetic body, and our life experiences are embedded into these energetic bodies, and they carry the vibration and memory of our past. So these traumas and the difficulties that we've encountered in our lives have become part of these energetic bodies. And if we choose not to deal with them, they just hang out in our energetic body. And other people can feel them. They know what's happening. And when you bump into somebody, sometimes you can be like, ooh, I don't really care for their energy. There may be something that they're carrying of their past or energetically that you don't like. And that's what your vibration is recognizing that, right? I love how the rainbow is becoming so popular right now. The LGBTQ plus community is using it, and I absolutely love this because they are multicolored, and so is the world. The world is multicolored, and I think it's really important that people start to recognize we are multicolored. Even as one person, you're multifaceted. You're not just one thing. You are a ton of different things, and that's what we need to recognize in our lives. I believe that as we as a collective are becoming more aware of our energy, we're also becoming more aware of the physical signs and symbols that are leading people slowly but surely over to the energetic awareness that there is something more, right? There's something bigger than just us. It's not just us and the ideology of just one God. There's so much more. The universe is expansive. It's a multi-universe, right? It's a multiverse. There are several galaxies. There are so many things that we don't know, that we couldn't even fathom, because we're just humans and our minds can only handle so much in that capacity. When our children who've learned this Roy G. Biv, they've learned all these things, all these colors about the colors of the chakras, and they understand what it is and how the chakra works. These are the people that are going to grow up and go, you know what? I know there's something more. This is why it's really important that if you are already at a point where you're enlightened enough to know what the chakras are and how they work, teach your children, teach your grandchildren, pass on that information. It's really important that we have these discussions. 30 years ago, we didn't have nearly as many people as aware of energy as we do right now, let alone what the chakras were. I mean, I sure as hell didn't know what they were 30 years ago when I was 22 with 2 little babies. I had no idea. As more people become interested in their something more, so too has their awareness been raised. And it's really important that these people and this is what happens, right? So even people who don't know anything about metaphysical life, even they've heard of chakras because it's becoming so much more popular for people to talk about. It's an energy center. So the more aware we become of what chakras are and how our energy works, we must learn to also take responsibility for our energy. And here's what I mean. Probably a couple of years ago, I was in a meditation with one of my spirit guides. He's my doctor chemist. And I wanted to interview him because I had just met him and I wanted to sit down and interview him as part of my project for my mediumship school. So I sat down to interview him and talk to him about his past and had he ever been reincarnated. And so true to spirit, right? Everything is a lesson. So as we're having this conversation and I'm asking him questions, he says, okay, I want to go to the park. It just so happens that this spirit guide is always barefoot. He's always in jeans and a white t-shirt and bare feet with long hair. So in this meditation, we go to the park. So as we sit down, and I saw silvery images of each of us on the grass next to us. And I looked to him and I was very confused. And I said, what are those? Because I see these silvery images sitting next to us. And he says, here's your first lesson. Everything is energy. And I just looked to him and I went, I don't understand. He told me that the silvery images I saw are our energy, part of our energy body. And he let me know that one belonged to me and one belonged to him. And I thought this was really interesting, so I just made note of it and asked if I could begin the interview, and he smiled and said, sure. So I began the interview asking him some really simple questions. He answered me as fully as I could understand, and when I was done, I let him know I was done and I didn't have any more questions. He told me, okay, let's go. He stood up and made this movement that I thought was a little weird, but I didn't really ask him. And I didn't want to annoy my spirit guide the very first time we'd met and we had this discussion. So I just kind of, kept my mouth shut. Stupid me. I should have asked a question. Cancel, clear, delete. Take away the fact that I just called myself stupid me. That's what I talk about. Mind your energy. Don't talk to yourself that way. So I didn't want to annoy him. And as we start to walk away, he stopped and he said to me, look back. So I stopped. I turned around and I looked. And I saw only one silvery image. And I reached out and I touched him and I said, excuse me, but why is there only one image there? He looked at me and smiled and said, oh, you forgot to call your energy back to yourself. And I just stood there and looked at him like I was completely stunned. And I said, what? He explained to me that if we do not consciously call back our energy to us, bits and pieces of our energy stay behind. So he went on to explain to me that those moments of deja vu that you often receive where we feel like we've been to these places before, it was because energetically we didn't properly recall our energy. So we are basically crossing paths with our own energy. So if you've been somewhere before and you've had this deja vu experience, in that moment, say to yourself, I call my energy back because that's what happened. And it doesn't mean it had to be in this lifetime. It could have been another lifetime that you left your energy. You want to call that all back into yourself. For me, when I experience moments of deja vu like that, I tend to get really dizzy and I have to take a moment to sit and think or to steady myself. And now I understand this is just my energy recognizing itself and it's reincorporating back into my aura. I was absolutely shocked when he explained this to me. I mean, dumbfounded. Because I work with energy every day. Even back then I worked with it every day, but I didn't realize that it was that terribly important to call it back into yourself. I was so shocked when he explained it to me. So it sounds really logical, but if you're not aware, you're not aware. And that's why I'm bringing this to you to help make you aware of your energy and that at the end of every day, every place that you go, you need to call your energy back into yourself. So he went on to explain to me how the word intention means so much more than humans truly understand. If you set the intention to always recall your energy back to yourself, it will happen. So initially, it'll be just like remembering to do anything else. You'll forget more often than not, then you'll start to remember. It just becomes something that you do every single day, and you won't have to think about it anymore. There's no real trick to it, right? There's nothing, no special thing that you have to do. Here's something very simple that I do. I like to stop for a moment and close my eyes, and I envision myself as an octopus. And I say, okay, show me all of my energy ribbons. Sometimes it's 1 or 2, sometimes it's 10 or 15. It all depends on what kind of interactions I've had during the day. So in that moment, I say, in the highest good of all, I call my energy back to come with me as I leave this place. In place of my energy, leave love and peace. And when you do that, when you pull your energy back in that moment, because you've said, in place of my energy, I leave love and peace, you're asking the universe to replace the hole that you've left in somebody else's aura by taking your energy back. It is extremely important when you call your energy back to always replace it with love and light, because you don't want to be responsible for leaving a hole in someone else's aura, because that was what your energetic exchange had done. You tapped into them. So in that moment, you want to call it back to yourself and leave love and light in its place. So anywhere that you go, grocery stores, your friends' houses, airports, Always call your energy back to yourself, especially public places like airports or hotels where there are tons of people that you could have interacted with. Now, you have to be really careful the first few times you do this so that you're not yanking it away from people where it will cause discomfort, nor do you want your energy all rushing back to you quickly, which can cause you discomfort. This is why you always say, in the highest good of all. That way, you're pulling it back. And when I do it, I visualize the ribbons coming back one at a time. I don't ask for all 5 or all 10 to come back to me because they can come back slamming in, and that can really cause a problem for you, plus leave a mess behind you. So if you just simply say, in the highest good of all, I call my energy back to come with me as I leave this place. In place of my energy, leave love and peace. And you can say that with each ribbon that you bring back. And that way you have done the karmically correct thing to do by replacing it with love and light and bringing your energy back to yourself. You allow the universe to do this at a pace which is best for you and best for them. Here is the perfect example of energy sliming. Have you ever walked into a room after someone has been arguing and you just don't feel right? Where you just feel, ooh, what happened here? That's because the energy from the argument is still in that room. As each person was yelling, waving hands, or stomping feet, whatever they were doing, they were sliming each other with their energies. So if we take this a step further, when they were yelling at the other person, this is where the sliming comes from. They're literally throwing their energy, right? You're sending it to them verbally. And if they're not listening, you speak louder and more intently to make them listen. This energy leaves your mouth with the exact intention that you set out with, which was, you need to hear me. And so that dumped a whole lot of your energy onto them, and you slimed them with your words and energy. And I guarantee you that they're going to replay that conversation in their head over and over again, and so will you. Why? Because you've both slimed each other, and now there's an angry, energetic cord attaching the two of you. You've both agreed in that moment that you're okay with giving away your energy and giving away your power to the other person. So now you are energetically connected through this angry cord, and the two of you are still attached. I mean, is that really what you want? Do you want to stay attached to the person that you're angry with? And I'm hoping your answer is no. But I'm a realist here. Sometimes we want that other person to think about us. I want you to think about how I was right and you were wrong. And perhaps that doesn't really sound like a bad thing in the moment, but think about this. You're now energetically connected because of that exchange. You have this cord no matter what you do, the two of you are together. So because of that, after an argument, don't you feel drained? Don't you feel tired? Why do you think that is? Because you are energetically connected to that other person. And now, because you're tied together, you're both experiencing the same things. They're experiencing you and you're experiencing them. So when they're having a bad day and feeling like crap, you're going to feel like crap because you're attached to them. So in those moments where you're in a really good mood and everything's going great, and then all of a sudden everything goes to hell in a handbasket for you and you have no idea why, you just wind up in this super shitty mood and you're like, well, what the hell? My suggestion is, if that ever happens, call the person that you were mad at and ask them, hey, did you have a shitty day today? And I bet you any amount of money that their answer is going to be yes. And that's because you are energetically connected to them. It's really important to remove that energetic connection. So if that were to happen, do you still think it's a good idea to be tied for that person? Hell no. And why is that? Let me tell you why. I can screw up my own day. I don't need someone else's energy to come in and screw it up for me. Now, let's take this a step further. During that argument, you weren't being very mindful of your energy or your words. You slimed them and they slimed you. It wasn't pretty. What kind of vibration do you think you sent to them with those hurtful words? They're very low vibration, low frequency words, low frequency energy. That vibration is now in your aura as well as in theirs. So not only did you spew it forth onto someone else, but you gave it to yourself. Because it's a low frequency, it's going to hang out in your aura. And it could hang out in all 7 layers. It could hang out in just one. Those low vibration energies are now going to become energetic blocks in your chakra system and in your aura because you're not paying attention. Energetic blocks that you don't clear out of your chakra system now can become physical illnesses in your body. Think about that, right? And that is where we come up with the word dis-ease. Have you ever heard of this? And I'm not talking about disease. I'm talking about dis-ease. When we are unhappy, sad, depressed, or angry, we change the vibration of our energy to become low instead of high. And I believe that this consistent and repeated exchange of low vibration behaviors will affect you physically. And here's how I know this. When I was a young child, I was molested for 3 years. Clearly, that seriously affected my root and my sacral chakras. I got pregnant very easily when I was 18, and I was pregnant with a little boy, and I lost my son. I didn't grieve the loss. I just shoved it away and went on with life. I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't talk about it. I told the father. I told my best friend, but I didn't tell anybody else. I didn't want to talk about it. You didn't talk about that kind of stuff. The last thing I wanted to do was tell my dad, who was a nurse. When I was 19, I got pregnant again, very easily again this time. I gave birth to this beautiful, healthy little girl, and about 20 months later, I had another baby. I got pregnant again. So after my 3rd pregnancy, I was having relationship issues with my then husband. Now, mind you, all 3 pregnancies were by different men, and I don't hide this from anybody. I am that woman, so think of yourself, right? If you start making fun of people for having children with different men, I am that person. 3 pregnancies within 4 years with 3 different men. I started having really serious abdominal cramping after that second baby. Like, it was really bad. There was one time that it was so bad, I was driving that I had to pull over and just sit while the pain subsided. I doubled over behind the driver. I will never forget this. I was driving a silver Chevy Lumina. Like, I even remember the car I was driving. It was miserable. My daughter was born in 1991, and this was in 1992. It was absolutely horrendous, the pain. I couldn't even handle it. So I went to the gynecologist, and I told, he asked me a lot of questions, and I told him how easy I got pregnant, blah, blah, blah. He asked me a million questions. And he diagnosed me with endometriosis, and it was a very severe case. He told me that I should never have been able to get pregnant once, never mind 3 times. He didn't know how it happened. So I had told him that none of these pains even existed until after the second baby was born. This man that I thought I was in love with and had a child with, who was raising my first baby, and I found out that he had cheated on me. It was horrible. Now I look back at all of this. What happened to me was absolutely normal. Why? I was molested. I lost a baby. Then I had 2 more at a very young age. Then my husband cheated on me, right? So when he had sex with this other woman while we were married, he took her energy and brought it to me and gave me her energy after we had sex. And when you think about this, right, I'm not shocked at all that I had endometriosis. There was so much damage that was done to my sacral chakra and to my root chakra. Good God. I'd never dealt with any of the pain of having been molested. I didn't deal with the pain of having been cheated on. I didn't deal with anything. I had just shoved it all down, ignored it all. And because of that, all of that energy stayed in my aura, stayed in the chakra, and wound up taking my lady parts and turning them into complete mush. So I didn't deal with any of that pain at all. And then I went on to literally shockingly, I did get pregnant a 3rd time. And this was a complete miracle baby who was totally meant to be here on this earth, because my doctor said there was no way I would ever get pregnant without surgical intervention. And I did. That was my last pregnancy. So by the time I was 39, the pain was horrendous. I felt so much pressure in my root chakra area. I felt so much pain. It hurt to just go to the bathroom and wipe myself. It was ridiculous. And so I went to the doctor and he said, that's it. You need to have a hysterectomy. Nothing is working right. And so I did. I wound up going and I had a hysterectomy. Literally was the greatest thing I ever did, was to get rid of those. But it got rid of the physical pain. I still didn't deal with all of the energetic crap that I had built up that caused the blockage and all that pain to begin with. And now, right, nobody had any explanation for why I was in so much pain. I'm no longer shocked. I'd never dealt with the pain of having been molested. I just put it to the side like it didn't exist. I suffered years of abdominal pain, all surrounding my female organs and my vagina, which are my root and sacral chakra. I kept that low vibration memory of being molested there, and I refused to deal with it. I refused to deal with the loss of my first pregnancy, and by the time I was 39, I had to have a hysterectomy because the pain was so intense. Even after the hysterectomy, I was having pain, and my gynecologist had no idea why I was having the same pains because there was only one ovary that remained, and there was very little endo visible in my body. She had no explanation for why I was having all these endometriosis pains, but I had no uterus, I had no cervix, no fallopian tubes, nothing. She's like, Maria, I don't understand. I don't get it. I get it now. All these years later, I get it. Only after I've finally been able to work on the trauma to release it, and I mean release it all. I finally let go of that low vibration and swapped it out for love and happiness. I don't play that victim anymore. And I did. I enjoyed playing, oh, poor me, I was molested. And I'm a little ashamed to admit that, but it's true. I am on my last marriage. We have been together for 23 years. Until I let go of all that trauma, our marriage was really tumultuous. Like, it was a really rough beginning. It was very difficult. That's because I carried all that trauma with me. I really did. That trauma affected me. It affected my children. It affected my husbands. Until I learned to deal with it, nothing was ever going to be even keel. Nothing was ever going to work. So that low vibration energy affects us in ways that we don't even know until we learn about it. If you find yourself speaking poorly of other people, it's generally happening because you also have poor self-esteem, and it helps you to find power over somebody else. And that's why you do it. So if we think about why we do things, did it happen to us? Are we continuing the cycle of this low frequency energy, this low vibration? Someone has to decide to end the chain of pain. It's now. This is the time. End the chain of pain. You can make a change now. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to make mistakes along the way. It doesn't mean that somewhere along the way you don't find yourself laughing when somebody is gossiping about someone. But in that moment, you stop and go, you know what? That wasn't okay. Send an apology out into the universe and just be mindful of it. You don't have to participate in a conversation where someone is gossiping. You can say, I'm sorry, this isn't something that I want to partake in, and just get up and walk away. Will somebody say something to you? Oh, you think you're better than that? The answer is not that you're better than that. You just turn around and go, no, I'm not better than that. I just don't think it's okay to do it. We've all done it. I'm absolutely guilty of it. And now I've started saying to people, I'm sorry, it's not a vibration I want to be in. Can we change the subject? I mean, most of the people around me know that I work with, frequency. I work with vibration. And that's just how I address it. And I have had some people who will stop talking to me because of it. And that's okay. People are going to vibrate in and out of our lives for a reason. When you raise your vibration, you're going to find people in the same vibration with you. However, as you raise your vibration, you're also going to lose people in your life who do not have the same vibration as you. If their vibration is lower than yours or different than yours, they may fall away, and it sucks. I have lost people who I thought were very close to me, and I have no explanation for why they took off. They just did. Peace out. Didn't tell me that. Just block me and go. And I just have to accept the fact that they did it for their reasons, And I just send, I wish you well out into the universe with an apology for if I did something wrong, I'm sorry. And hopefully one day they'll come to me and let me apologize to them in person or over the phone. But I can't let that hang out in my energy. I can't let that sit in my energy system where I go, what happened? What happened? And then I run over all these things over and over and over, because now I'm getting stuck in that vibration and that energetic cord is there. So you have to release that energetic cord, bring it back to you, and just say, you know what, if the relationship was meant to be, it'll come back to me in a healthy way. And maybe it will, and maybe it won't. One of the things that I've heard several people say, and I really want to address them, has you ever said to yourself or heard somebody say, why does this always happen to me? When you voice this, or even thinking it, yes, thinking it is also a vibration. When you say this to yourself, you're bringing it to you. When you say, why does this shit always happen to me? You're putting that low vibration out into the world. And because of that, that's what you're going to attract. Law of attraction, part of the Hermetic principles. If you put that energy out there, why does this always happen to me? That kind of shit is just going to continue to happen to you over and over and over. You know, one of the things that I have found, I suffer from migraines. I've had them for over 20 years. When I sit there and go, oh my God, this migraine is killing me. This migraine is killing me. This migraine is killing me. Because I do that, right? I'm putting myself in that vibration. My mind is so much stronger than you ever even realize. Your mind is so much stronger than you even realize. You have the power to decide whether or not your body is in pain. I have stopped saying, for the most part, oh my God, this hurts, it hurts, it hurts. I just go into meditation, and I have found ways to work with getting rid of my migraine pain so that I don't have to rely on pharmaceuticals to do it. It's been a beautiful blessing. I also will say that I have gotten to the point that I do use medical marijuana to help take care of it, because sometimes those migraines are really overwhelming. I don't want to say that you just pretend like the pain isn't there. Focus on something more positive to help bring you into a better vibration, something that will bring you to a better place where you feel more comfortable. Let's circle back to the chakras to put all this into perspective. Let's say someone you know has experienced a serious heartbreak. This is the kind of heartbreak where it's the loss of a spouse, the loss of a relationship that they were truly loved, something that they didn't see coming. And they're like, oh, my heart is broken, and they cry and they cry and they cry. The physical heart is located in the heart chakra, which is attached to your emotional aura. So let's say that this person never dealt with the trauma of that heartbreak, right? This energy is now starting to create a blockage in your heart chakra. If you don't deal with this blockage, it can turn into a heart attack, which is a physical blockage. It can be chest pains, or it can be an anxiety attack. It could also affect your lungs or any other part of the body that's controlled by the heart chakra. Several years ago, during my process of working through all of this trauma, I had symptoms of a TIA, or what I was told was a TIA. I was put in the hospital and they ran all the tests, but they could find absolutely no physical proof of a TIA. My body was releasing blockages from my heart chakra over being angry with that family member. I had, quote unquote, hardened my heart to certain things, and I let it go. So when that release happened for me, it showed up physically like a TIA. It was horrendous. It was a horrible pain. This is what I call dis-ease. It's the perfect example. My body showed up and said, hey, listen, you've carried this around for a long time. You're starting to let it go. We're going to release, but you're going to know we're releasing it. And that's what happens. It's really important that we start to make subtle changes in our lives so that we can start to do better for ourselves, and we can start to do better for other people, all those that are in our lives. So here's tip 1. If you find yourself not being very mindful of your words, tap yourself at the top of your chest. And I do this. When you're speaking, the energy from your words can hang like clouds in your aura. By tapping yourself immediately, it helps to disperse the energy so it doesn't become a blockage. It's the same type of tap you can use to center yourself and bring your energy into awareness. You just do tap, 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 tap. And what that does is, instead of letting that vibration hang out right there, it sends it out, right? It's like breaking up a piece of chalk. It breaks it up into much smaller pieces that are easier to dissipate. Second tip. You can do what I did earlier in the podcast and say, cancel, clear, delete. Use this sweeping motion for thoughts, right? That you don't want to become a part of your energy. Use the sweeping motion away from your head as you state, cancel, clear, delete out loud. You are using that and saying cancel, clear, delete so that that goes up into your Akashic records to remove them. You don't want that to be part of your energy. You're trying to be mindful. Cancel, clear, delete, let that go. So you're telling the Akashic records, listen, I don't want to keep this. I screwed up. I recognize it. I remove it. So the third thing you can do, call your energy back to yourself gently. In the highest good of all, I call my energy back to come with me as I leave this place. In place of my energy, leave love and peace. The fourth thing you can do, the governing vessel. Have you ever seen people during a moment of frustration run their fingers through their hair and blow their breath? I know you can't see me, but I'm running my fingers through my hair. It helps them to reset their energy. So the meridians in your meridian lines, there's this thing called the governing vessel. They're located at the top of your head and they control the energy of your crown chakra and your brain. And when you're feeling upset, take that moment, and you probably do it automatically anyway, right? You don't even realize it. But now you can start to do it with intention. So when you're feeling upset, take a moment, run your hands back and forth over the top of your head and see how much of a difference it makes for you, right? It's like a slow massage of your own head, but it helps that governing vessel to move that energy through so it doesn't stay in your meridian stuck. Now, here's the fifth thing for you. Do you shield yourself to protect your energy? If not, you need to start shielding your energy. It's really important that you do that. I hope that these 5 tips have been very helpful to you. And I hope that everything that we've discussed in this podcast have been very helpful to you, because minding your energy is super, super important. You have a karmic responsibility in this lifetime. You came into this world to do the work that you need to do. And one of the things that you can do for yourself along your way is to mind the things that you say. Pay attention to them. You don't even realize sometimes. And here's the one thing that I want to talk about that I don't have in my notes, because I'm actually done with all the things that I wrote in my notes. Now I'm just going to wing it, and we're going to see how good I get at this, right? So one of the things that we often do to ourselves all the time, we say things about ourselves that we shouldn't. And I find myself doing it all the time. If I do something that I thought was stupid or I thought was ridiculous, I'll be like, oh, for God's sakes, Maria Michelle, that was the dumbest thing you've ever done. And that probably isn't so bad. However, I'll also say, oh, you dumbass, what were you thinking? That is not okay. Because what I have just done is I have damaged myself. I've called myself a dumbass. I've put that low vibration in my own aura. I did it to myself. Like, why? Why do we do this to ourselves? Because we've been taught that it's just okay to talk trash about ourselves. And then we talk trash about other people. And we think it's okay because, well, I talk shit about myself, so why not? It's a problem. Don't do this. Don't call yourself names. Everything that we do needs to come from a place of self-love. And this is the hardest thing you're ever going to do. Learning to love yourself for exactly who you are. Learning to stop calling yourself names is a great first step. Give yourself permission to make a mistake. If you find yourself going, oh my God, you dumbass, how could you do that? Just go, oh, I recognize that now. I need to stop. And just say, okay, I'm not really a dumbass. Cancel, clear, delete. I wipe that out. I just had a bad moment. and forgive yourself. That's one of the biggest things that we really need to do is just to forgive ourselves, right? Forgive yourself for the mistakes that you make. We are our own worst enemy sometimes, and self-forgiveness is huge, huge. Forgive yourself for the mistakes you make. You're not perfect. You are human. And this is the thing that we have to remember, right? We are a soul living a skin suit human experience. The human makes mistakes. The soul doesn't. The human needs to be forgiven. Once we can learn to forgive ourselves for the mistakes we make, it becomes a whole lot easier to forgive all the people around us. If you found today's podcast helpful and you would like to support my podcast financially, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Maria Leggett, and you can leave a donation for me to help me to support this podcast and all of the editing and the time that I have to do, because it may look like it's only a 45-minute podcast when you get it. But the amount of times that I had to stop, re-record something, and then edit it because I stuttered, didn't like what I said. Oh my God, it takes hours, hours. And because I'm a new podcast, I don't have commercials. I'll not get any kind of monetary for this. So if you want to support me, I would absolutely be grateful. Visit buymeacoffee.com/Maria Leggett. Thank you for allowing me to be of service to you today. You can find me on Instagram, Maria Leggett Unveiled. You can also find me on Facebook at the same name, Maria Leggett Unveiled, and my website, marialeggettunveiled.com. If you'd like to book an appointment with me, you can do so at the web. And you can find my amazing new Oracle card on Etsy.com at Maria Leggett Unveiled. Thank you so much.